What's wrong with OHMS standing for On His Missus's Sideboard? Paul Gottel, expert and artist in cookery, shows you the possibilities. His particular interest at the moment is the decorative side of cooking, the sweets of life, so to speak.
Now time for some interactive fun.
I hope you brought your appetites because we're back with cake. That's right. Part 6? Part 7? What is it? 7. Part 7. I actually had to look that up and check myself. We're on part 7. We made it to 7 parts of this weird cake story. Yeah, we did. And that means I'm still Kirk and this is still Dumb Test Slate. Like I said, we're back with the cake story, part 7. I'm recording on May 5th, Cinco de Mayo. Happy Cinco de Mayo, or whatever day you randomly listen to this on, but I'm recording on Cinco de Mayo. I had tacos. They were really good, but we're not talking about tacos today. As much as I love tacos, like everyone else in the world, we're talking about cake, baby. Yep. Part 7. We are back. I hope you liked the last episode. Hope you're following along in order. If not, this is really weird because I'm not good at recapping what I talked about on the last series, this cake series, my Cake and 2 Redo series. Because mostly I forget what I said on the last one. Good thing is I have the notes right in front of me. The last one I ended up talking about kind of the character, quote unquote, I'm doing air quotes right now, character breakup, the jump between Acts 1 and Acts 2, and like the conflict, the thing that always happens in especially romantic comedies where the characters finally like break apart or something, and they have their big break, or the big reveal, or the big mistrust event or something like that, the big stab in the back, the event that breaks the camel's back, that separates the characters. In my story, I was talking about how our villain Andre would stab Eldin in the back by stealing his cake he was working on for his adopted family, the throuple, which I really didn't call it, the poly couple. That's his wizened older adopted family that's part of a polycule or throuple. I don't know what the proper term is, but that's what it's going to be. That's the jump. So for this episode, I went back and I wanted to do my watch list, update the reference in the movies that I need to look upon to get some references as far as, romantic comedies, because it's been a while since I watched not only a movie but a romantic comedy. Like I've talked about previously with this Cake and 2 Redo series, I started watching the movie Bros. It came out in 2022 or 2023. I think 2022 was the actual release year. That I started watching it and I wasn't really all that warm to it. But a part of my watch list for this one, I finished it, and I have to report, it's really, it got much better. It really did. The scene I ended with, if you've ever watched it, is a scene like where they're in the park, the couple, Bobby and Aaron, and they're like play wrestling and all that stuff. And it turns into them making out. And I stopped it around there. I wasn't warm on it, but I came back to it. I literally watched it earlier today, and it got much better. I'll talk about it more. Well, my other movie on my watch list for this was The Birdcage, which I haven't seen in whole since the 90s. When it came out in 1996, with Robin Williams and Nathan Lane. Always rest in peace, Robin Williams. I forgot. I watched it again. Of course, like I said, I saw it in 96. It was probably like one of those Saturday afternoon rentals my parents would come home with from Blockbuster, and we would watch together. Because I do remember watching it with them. I don't remember all the details on the whole movies. I remember, bits and pieces of it. Of course, watching it when it, reruns on TV and all that stuff. But I haven't watched it from start to finish in a long time, and I forgot how good of a movie that is and how amazing Robin Williams is, rest in peace, and how amazing Nathan Lane is also. And I totally forgot that movie is set in South Beach, Miami. It's funny because like watching that movie set, I know exactly where that is. I've been there many times because I used to work in South Beach. But yeah, those were my two reference movies on my watch list that I did catch up with. Also in this episode, I'm going to talk about, like last episodes, I've talked about what my archetype for my villain is for Andre, how that was going to be based off Julian Clary, his kind of very like presence and just deliverance of lines and all that stuff. And is just cutting, like really cut to the core insults, how amazing they are. That would be one of my archetypes for Andre. But I have a new archetype for Eldin, because I've talked about Eldin, but I really haven't talked about how I envision what his character would look like. That's more what I need to get into with these episodes, the minutia of like character names. And I still really haven't gone through, other than Andre and Eldin, all the other side characters. So I'm going to develop those out more. But okay, let's start here with the watch list. Like I said, I finished. Let's go back. Let's start with Birdcage. I forgot, from the 90s. Let's go with the older movie first. Birdcage was an amazing movie. Most people who have known about it, go back and rewatch that movie. It's online. I watched it free on Tubi or Freevee or Pluto, one of the free streaming services there are. Watched it. I was surprised there was no commercials. It was just free. It wasn't edited or anything. It was amazing. Other than it being an amazing movie, it's a comedy, but it's not an essential, it doesn't follow the essential romantic comedy script of, I don't know, it's kind of hard to describe. It's more, not when you think of a romantic comedy, you think of a comedy based around a couple coming together, whatever. This one isn't. It is a romantic comedy. You see the ebb and flows of Robin Williams' character and Nathan Lane's character, their couple, their relationship, how they're an older couple. You see them up and down. But their son, I don't know his actual name, but his character's name in this movie is named Val. His relationship with the fiance and their family they're bringing over, you know, that's the conflict in the movie. You know, it's very, you just get the essentials from that couple. You don't really get anything between them. It's more about Robin Williams' character and Nathan Lane's character, which is very good. But it did inspire me, because they're an older couple. I think Robin Williams' character says he's 50, in the movie. And you can assume Nathan Lane's character is around the same age. But that clicked in my head that kind of would be the archetype for Eldin's polycule adopted family couple. And I would add in Hank Azaria's character, but I wouldn't, because he's just funny and amazing in that movie. But I would make, instead of making him just a houseboy, he would be the third part of the polycule. So you have Robin Williams' character, Nathan Lane's character, Hank Azaria's character, but I would change it completely. I, for some reason, see it as a person who is either mute or doesn't like talking. So they really interact with like facial expressions and body language for some reason. And also imagine them as being trans. But I do love that it would be a character that's the older couple, the Robin Williams and Nathan Lane. One would be either a drag performer or one will be trans. And then trans, I'm saying man to woman, for them. And then the third one, based on Hank Azaria's character, would be female to male. So I don't know. I need to work that out in my head, and sit down and not just sit down and come up with definites. But like I said, the character, you see a lot of drama between Robin Williams' character and Nathan Lane's character in the movie, but they work everything out. And it's based around not having to hide who you are to make other people happy. And it's the beauty in that and acceptance and all that stuff. But like how they both take care of Val, Robin Williams' character's biological son. That kind of would be the same. That would translate to my Cake and Two story, where they take care of Eldin, their kind of wayward adopted son that they've been, not so much taking care of, but taking in and giving advice to and giving him a safe space because he didn't grow up around his parents. He's kind of abandoned in that. And he would gravitate towards them. That's why he has so much love for them, that he wants to really put all his creativity and love into that cake for their ceremony, their polycule ceremony. And then when Andre steals it, that is the straw that broke the camel's back, and that pushes the conflict, and he really explodes at Andre for doing that. Also, to go with that, I'm thinking that, like how I said in the previous episode, the producers of their reality show on my Cake and Two idea, maybe they try to steal the polycule idea and try to force it into the show and have Andre, Eldin, and a new character being a polycule, and that pushes Andre to steal the idea for the cake and all this stuff. Maybe that it would be the full part of that, what leads to the big conflict and what separates the characters and kind of makes Eldin quit. Like he has the big blow up at Andre on the reality show, and he quits, and that's where the characters basically break up. That would be that part of the story, that the jump to Act 2. I think I talked about that in the last episode. But that comes from the Birdcage. So that would be kind of my character start design for the polycule couple that's there for Eldin from the Birdcage. Okay, let's talk about Bros now. Finally finished Bros. Like I said, it got much better. And I'm glad I finished. I'm glad I didn't just give up on it. I actually was like, let me sit down. I ate my tacos because it is Cinco de Mayo. And I finished watching it and got really good. Right around the part where they have their big conflict and the characters break up. In that movie, that's right around the time I picked it up. But like I said, the second part was really funny. I love the cameos. It's amazing cameos. Deborah Messing shows up as Deborah Messing from Will and Grace. That one was okay. I'm not the biggest Will and Grace fan. But the cameo that blew me away and made me smile the most was, Bobby is played by Billy Eichner. That's his character, Bobby, and he falls in love with Aaron, Aaron. But Aaron's mother is played by Amanda Bierce, who I always remember as Marcy Darcy from Married with Children, and that made me so happy. Playing his mother, who Amanda Bierce in real life is an out lesbian woman, but his mother plays kind of this conservative teacher. That made me so happy that she showed up in it. Also, Jim Rash. I don't know if I talked about Jim Rash, and anything makes me happy. I think he was more in the beginning of it, but like he had a few more scenes in later on. Especially the fight with Bi Awareness Week. But like I said, the second half got better. And it does show that thing that I really like, where after the character breakup, they find out more. When the characters are separated, they find out more about themselves. They find out they really do miss each other. But the thing this does, it kind of stole my idea before I had it. Because Aaron's character says when he was little, he wanted to make chocolate. He wanted to be a chocolatier. And I was like watching this. I was like, oh, that's the character line, the backstory I had for Eldin when he had to hide that he wanted to be a baker from his parents because they really didn't support him. But yeah, Aaron's character wanted to be a baker, and Bobby's character pushed him because Aaron is in this job he really hates, but he's successful in. And Bobby kind of is pushing him, was like, why don't you quit and do that? Be confident enough to take a risk. And Aaron's like, no. And then they have this blow up around Christmas time when Aaron's parents come to visit, and Bobby kind of says in front of his parents and kind of pushes things, and that leads to them ending their relationship. But what happens is, when they're apart, they realize that each other gave them the confidence to do something that they repressed from their past. Aaron's character wanted to be a baker with chocolate. He wanted to be a chocolatier, I should say. Bobby's character wanted to sing, but him, being a gay kid growing up, he was told he couldn't. So he hid that, part from his life. But in the end, he writes this song, and then there's this big, ending where he's, Aaron runs to him. And then he plays the song for them. Bobby's character plays the song for Aaron, of course. And then they have the cute ending at the end. But yeah, like I said, they had the good breakup in the second half where where you break up, we have the big fight and you break up and you realize characters apart really loved each other. They need to get back together. You have the big running to them, and at least in this one, he wasn't running in the rain. He did run to him. It's a romantic comedy. You have to forgive stuff sometimes. Like I said, the whole movie was really good. And it sucks that movie didn't make a lot of money. Unfortunately, I think it made less than what the budget was, but hopefully, Billy Eichner could make another movie like that. Maybe Billy Eichner could make my movie. Wink, wink. But yeah. Okay. So, like I said, the breakup was very good in that one. I could learn a lot when writing my movie. So now that jumps to me, like from some reason watching this, it clicked in my head of I need to come up with more of an archetype for what I see Eldin being. And there's two things I got. Just, after you watch a movie, you do that thing where you Google a bunch of stuff, exactly who was in it and all that jazz. Because of course I'm doing as a research for this movie, for this podcast and idea. But there was an article about if the movie The Birdcage was redone now, who would be in it. It's funny because Hank Azaria's character in this article, they said will be recasted as this actor now named Arturo Castro, who I always think of from Broad City, who's very funny. It's funny because he is Guatemalan, and in The Birdcage they keep saying Hank Azaria's character is Guatemalan. But I was looking at him, I was like, he has this perfect look that I would want for Eldin. I know it's hard for me to talk about how someone looks on a audio format, but if you ever see him or if you know what he looks like, he has this perfect look where he would give off that shy, reserved look that Eldin would have in the beginning, but Eldin would you see Eldin's growth to being this confident and amazing artist that this actor Arturo Castro would perfectly. He has the perfect baby face, but also can show confidence and great belief in himself and his character work. Also, an archetype that I would use for Eldin is from the show The Great British Bake Off, Series 9 winner, Raul Mandal, who is this amazing baker, but always in the early episodes came off as super shy and always worried and scared he would lose and do something wrong. But he basically blew every contest and competition and episode away and won in the beginning. That shyness, but you see their progress grow over time. That's one of my archetypes for Eldin. Some way to show that. Because the thing about movies and TV shows when you're writing these scripts is you have to show, don't tell. I'm stealing that from another podcast, but it is a good line. Show, don't tell. And those are my archetypes for Eldin. The ways I can show him being this reserved and shy character that's being taken advantage of, that's okay with his place in life in the background. But then you see the straw that breaks the camel's back from him, somebody who he supposedly loves taking this full advantage of him that he can't forgive. And then he explodes. He goes to this low point where he quits this, very successful bakery, this reality show, to being on his own. But his artistry and his love for baking and his love for, his polycule adopted, family structure makes him, find success in himself again and have this rebirth towards the end of the story where he can challenge Andre, who was his, mentor and his love for all these years at the end in this, reality bake-off. The other thing I need to add to that, I'm going to have to add, because my story isn't going to be where they get back together in the end. Eldin is going to find another love interest as part of his rebirth and his finding success in himself is finding love in someone else in a different way that he hasn't known before. So I'm gonna have to introduce someone else. My first thing that popped in my head, I think I talked about this before. It would be from a rival bakery that maybe he ends up working for, or he ends up meeting someone who works there. The first person that popped into my head is Elliot Page. How they look. You can imagine Elliot Page as a little baker that Eldin falls for, and maybe they have to team up in the reality contest in the end of the movie. That's what I'm thinking. I think the next Cake Into Redo episode, will be more character based. I'm going to actually come up with names, come up with looks, come up with, when you do that vision board. That's going to be my next one. So yeah, I think I've rambled enough. But yeah, it's Cake Into Redo part 7. I done made it all the way to part 7. Well, you made it to part 7 too. Thanks for listening. But yeah, that's how I'll end this one. The Birdcage is amazing. Go watch The Birdcage again. It's free, streaming online. Watch Bros too. There was a movie, I think it's called The Heartbreak Club. So I'm not going to look it up right now, but I'm thinking about what the next movie will be for my reference in my watch list. I think it's called The Heartbreak Club from early 2000 that I'll look at. I'll need more references as far as LGBTQ romance comedies, because that list is very small. Maybe I'll just watch some regular rom-coms to get more inspiration. But thanks for listening. I'm still Kirk. Still Dumb Test Slate. I'm still talking about cake. But like I said previously, I'm doing mixed match episodes. So the next one you'll listen to on the feed will be back to my insect story. Insecta. But thanks for listening to this one. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you guys are cooking or eating something that makes you happy. Because that's what it's all about. So catch you on the next one. Bye.